Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I'm just pulling up my screen right now. I was an early organizer at 1 Million Cups St. Paul, and 1 Million Cups is near and dear to my heart. That's how Yvonne and I know each other as well. And over the last couple weeks, couple months, it just hit me like a ton of bricks that I need to take the opportunity to go out and meet some new friends throughout the region. Very early on in the early days when I founded 1 Million Cups, I had presented to a number of 1 Million Cup groups and also Rotary clubs and various places. And it was just great to go out there and kind of do that community building. And such an important part to our business. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to share my business, Hill Capital Corporation, and share insights on the challenges we've faced and things that we're looking for from the community. So I'll just dive in here. I've got a couple of slides pulled up. The inspiration behind Hill Capital, there's a long story there, but the punchline is it was inspired by one of America's greatest entrepreneurs, James J. Hill. There's a lot of things that he did to build community throughout the Great Northern region. When he came into Minnesota as an immigrant, he had very little in his pocket, and it's the great American story. And as they say, the rest is history as he built out the Great Northern Railway, which is now Burlington Northern Santa Fe, which is owned by Warren Buffett. And so it's quite a legacy there, and that's how he earned the nickname Empire Builder. So when we started Hill Capital Corporation, we did a lot to kind of embrace that legacy of building the community, because it's really important to us. And it also speaks to why we love 1 Million Cups and why the first time I saw 1 Million Cups, the very first meeting in St. Paul at the James J. Hill Reference Library, they were an early adopter of the program. And I just was so inspired, the whole idea that people can come in and present, and just that very simple question, like, what can we do to help you? I just really loved it because one of the things that I've come to realize in my background in history and in finance was I've always been shocked at how difficult accessing capital has been for Main Street businesses, and how difficult it has been to build businesses. And that's why we're so blessed to have the Kauffman Foundation. I've just gotten to know them through really 1 Million Cups. That's really about it. But their research has been really foundational for a lot of our work with 1 Million, or with Hill Capital. And specifically, they put out a report in 2019 that we speak to quite a bit. But the punchline is that the vast majority of our entrepreneurs aren't getting the capital that they need and aren't being served by the capital markets. And that's why we founded Hill Capital Corporation, is to provide capital and community to entrepreneurs, to business owners. There's a lot of different sources of capital in the marketplace. A lot of it's noisy. Throughout my journey over the last 2 decades, I've come to realize myself how confusing it really is to a business owner where and how they get money. And most people know either two sides of the equation. If you look on the left side of the screen, you're familiar with the banks. Pioneer Bank, or the big banks like Wells Fargo, and then on the far right you've got like the shark tanks, the angel investors, and very few people know some of the things in between, but there are a lot of different sources of capital, and our focus is more in the middle. We invest in more Main Street businesses. We look to put in $1 and earn $2 to $3 back, versus an angel investor, they put in $1, they look to earn 10, if not $100 back someday. And there's a vast difference in that cost of capital. And with that, there's a real lack of awareness, was what I've come to appreciate, by business owners in the ecosystem about costs of capital and where money can be sourced from, and what the different expectations are that comes with capital. And so we've spent a lot of time in our formation of Hill Capital going out there and just raising awareness to make people, to help them understand where capital exists and how we help in the ecosystem. So this is what we look like. The couple of the punchlines. One of the biggest differentiators is we really take the best of both worlds. People like debt because it's the cheapest capital. Usually it's affordable. You usually understand the terms. You get a loan, you pay an interest rate. Pretty simple. People love venture capital because it comes with all the help in the network. I call it like the Shark Tank effect. You go on there because you can tap into Lori's network or Mr. Wonderful's network, which is probably worth way more than the few $100,000 that they're investing in the business. And so we've brought both of those worlds together for Hill Capital, where we structure our investments so it can be paid back over time. That lowers the cost of capital dramatically, but we also bring community to help support that business. And that's a really important piece to who we are. And again, why we do 1 Million Cups and sponsor a lot of events and do events throughout the region. Here's a picture of one of our events at Green Acres Event Center. It's a beautifully restored barn by a great entrepreneur in the region who founded Rainforest Cafe. And Sonny and Steven Schussler own this restored barn, and it's beautiful, and I can't wait to get back there once we're back to normal times. But what we do is we host events and we do things to help business owners grow value. Part of our investment, obviously, we benefit from that business becoming more valuable, but we do a lot of things to really support the business owners in their journey. And so these are some of the key aspects of what we do to help the businesses that we invest in. And one of the things that has been tremendously impactful is that last point here, is that actionable cash forecasting analysis. We do a forecast, of course, when we make an investment, but boy, was that sure helpful when we all of a sudden found ourselves in a pandemic. All of our portfolio companies, we're looking at that monthly, updating it. And then so all of our portfolio companies know that, hey, if the pandemic gets worse, I'm going to have to make these decisions. If things get back to normal, I can do this. But the punchline is we make sure that we set them up to be less fragile than they would otherwise be, because that's a challenge. Is we can't have our business owners running out of cash, because that's just not good for anything. It's not good for them and our local economy. So to wrap up, I gave a presentation to my home community of 1 Million Cups Eden Prairie. I'm a founding organizer of that group, and I did present right before the holidays. We were short on presenters, and I got feedback. And so I put this slide in. People are like, well, tell us what you actually did. So I updated this slide because of 1 Million Cups. We closed on 4 investments. I'm proud to say 2 of them are outside of the metro area. 2 of them are actually based in Rochester. And we invested just shy of $3.4 million. We added a number of ambassadors. These are people who are typically retired, but they're not necessarily. They're people that believe in paying it forward and in sharing insights and in their Rolodex. And we have about 50 ambassadors. Most of them are willing to be publicly known, and so we list them on our website. Some of them are pretty private individuals. Some of them have done pretty well. They've sold businesses, and they're very well off, and they love to help and give back, but they don't want to be out there with a spotlight on their face either. So we provide them opportunities to give back. In 2020, we looked at over 200 companies. The vast majority come from warm referrals. And so that's really key for us, is people letting other people know to chat with us. We hosted 9 expert hours for portfolio companies specifically, bring in content experts and have an hour for them to do a deep dive on things like marketing and sales is always a hot topic. We've hosted 3 Empire Builders in 2020. We've done 5 of them in total. Those are our big events. Normally they cost us a lot of money because we pay for everything, and we always make it free, and it's not even paid by sponsors. We pay for everything, lunch and dinner and everything else that goes with it when we get together in person. But of course we have to be online now. And so our next one is January 21st. It's about building a financial foundation. And it's actually, I'm writing a book about breakout valuations and how companies can make themselves more valuable. So I'm going to give some insights on that content that we've been developing for the book. And then as I looked back, the challenges, the challenges we face are awareness of Hill Capital, but specifically our investment structure and how we structure our investment and why we do it has been a challenge. And we've got a proprietary structure we call an equity-based note. And so there has been times where we run into like legal counsel and stuff like that that may not have a lot of business finance background. And then especially when they see our structure, they really scratch their head. And so one of my goals and why I've decided to present at 1 million cups is because my task for the next 90 days is I want to have 12 quality meetings with what I like to call influencers. Like if you think of like a law firm that does business law or small business advisors, accountants and so forth. I just want to do some informational get to know you meetings. I found those to be very valuable where we can spend some quality time getting to know what they do and sharing insights on what we do. And it just helps everything. And so that's the ask. Obviously, we're always looking for prospective investments. We're drinking from a fire hose today. We've got 4 that is in underwriting right now. That we're pretty excited about. We're always happy to sponsor events, come to events. We sponsored the Women's Business Conference, SOAR, that was hosted by Entrepreneurs Fund. We've sponsored the GPS 4593 Economic Development Group out of East Central Minnesota in their entrepreneurship group. So we love to do whatever we can to support things throughout the region. So if there's things we can support in the Mankato region, please let us know. And then you're welcome to attend all of our events and please stay in touch. And I will share in the chat a link to that January 21st event. You're my guests. I'd welcome any of you to come and participate in Empire Builders. So with that, I'm grateful for being here and I look forward to the dialogue.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your presentation, Patrick. Again, I'll have you pull your slide down as we go into Q&A. If people want to raise their hand or ask questions in the chat, I will call on you. I see Yvonne has a question right away.
Hey, Patrick, great presentation. Thanks. This is something that, is so needed to have to fill that gap in terms of venture capital. I think that's the first question I always get from someone that is working on a business is, how do I get money for my business, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So a question I have for you in terms of trying to help is, could you talk a little bit more about what sort of referral you're looking for, what sort of a meeting? For example, I know accountants, I'm sure everyone here knows great accountants in the region. What kind of accountant, what kind of connection are you looking for there specifically?
Yeah, I think the best way is just to give an example. Back in 2018, 19, kind of when we launched the fund, we purposely did a handful of these and worked out well. And so, for example, like I went into like a law firm, like Advise and Legal, which is one of the newer ones. They do a lot of work with entrepreneurs and business financings. And it was really simple. David Peddler just asked us to come in. We sat at their conference room table and there was probably 6 or 7 of us. And they gave us an overview of what they're building with Advise and Legal and their backgrounds and kind of the different specialties they have. And then we shared, like a lot of the slides that I had up here, like where we fit in the ecosystem and got into some more details about like, everybody's always curious, like, what type of companies are you investing in and how much do you invest and so on and so forth. And so we dive into a little more of the weeds there, but that's really it. I mean, just an informational meeting. Anybody, if a couple people would like to get together and jump on a Zoom call and kind of a get to know you, we'd love to invest the, 30, 45 minutes to be able to do so. Because one of the challenges we had, like one of our investments that we closed, they had a law firm that was like, not familiar with like our structures, let alone it didn't seem like business financing is all that much. And I don't think I can cover all the attorneys in the region per se, but the thing that bums us out is like that company probably paid an extra $5,000 educating their attorneys on structures and so on and so forth. And so I feel better if I can share some decent insights that might save an entrepreneur a few $1,000 someday, so attorneys can be better prepared to get deals done when, people like us are providing a term sheet and giving them legal documents.
Awesome. Thank you. It looks like David has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, for those of us working with clients and small business that are continually looking to, are at the point where they looking for funding and stuff, can't necessarily go to the traditional banking route. What are the steps? What's your process to get them in front of you? How do we do that? What do you like to see?
Yeah, so first off, we're always happy to take an introduction, because at a bare minimum with any entrepreneur business owner, we go out of the way to invest at least a half hour to just jump on a call and learn about them. We're also members of like Gopher Angels and I have connections with like the Wilmer West Central Angels and Apex Angels out of Duluth. And so we're happy to, I've got a whole list of like, other investor contacts that we freely share with people to help them understand where else they can go. So I'm always happy to make that investment. The reason why we do that, because, when we look at a company, in our database, we never say it's a pass. Our term is literally shelf. Like for some reason, it wasn't a fit for them today or wasn't a fit for us today. It's got to be the right timing. It might be because of, the size of money. Today, we're just investing $500,000 to $1 million. So if somebody needs $200,000, even though it might be a great fit, I just can't do that in today's first portfolio. So, but I still want to get to know them and help them out and invite them to present at 1 million cups and so on and so forth. So long-winded answer, David, we're always happy to, anybody that wants to take the time to provide a referral, we'll always make the time to have a conversation and just be good neighbors and do what we can to be helpful.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Gary Schott has the next question.
Yeah, Patrick, it was great to hear about Hill Capital. Thanks. It was very valuable. And you touched on a little bit about honing in on the profile, what you're looking at. You mentioned most investments were in the city, in the Twin Cities, but you have a couple in Rochester. Tell us a little bit more about the profile, or it sounds pretty open. You want to stay in the region. You have anything from high tech to maybe not so high tech. Tell us a little bit more what you're looking for there. So that was one question. And if we have time, the second one.
Yeah. And so to be clear, our thesis was the vast majority of our portfolio would be well outside the Twin Cities. So we've always been interested in what we call the Great Northern Region, which is kind of the region that the Great Northern Railway serves. So if we want to get wonky about it, it's, like Chicago all the way to, to Seattle. But, and we've always had a thesis that some of our best and most interesting deals would come well outside of major metropolitan areas. And that has been the case, stuff that's has just really interesting and strong economic engines. And so we've invested in, our first investment was Cache Software out of Oakdale, Minnesota. The next was WareCorp, that's based in Minneapolis, but has major operations and people employed throughout the region and overseas. We invested in GoRoute, which is based in Mankato. And then we just closed on an investment in Cytotherics, which is in Rochester, and also has strategic operations and partners in Iowa. And then in our pipeline today is we're looking, we've got a food-based company that's out of greater Minnesota. We've got a retail technology company that we're underwriting, a marketing communications technology company that's in the Twin Cities. And then a healthcare company, a service provider that's based out of Wisconsin, out of Madison, but they're based out, their people are located all over the place because they do a lot of telemedicine. So that's who specifically what we're doing and looking at. We are not like just a technology investor software, like you heard, like a food, biotech. I mean, we purposely want to have a diverse portfolio, and we're not afraid to get our hands dirty and dive in and really learn about a business. Because it's about, if our community and capital can really help get them to positive free cash flow, that's where the rubber meets the road. If our capital and community to help get them to free cash flow, then it's likely we're going to be pretty interested.
Great. And I know we're up against the time there. I guess you had a great slide on the community ask, so you've really kind of touched upon that. I think maybe specific for our community, you talked about influencers, excuse me, looking for influencers in our region. Have you already connected with some influencers, or is that an open slate?
So it is definitely an open slate. I mean, we definitely, it can never quite be enough. You know, like, I don't know of like if we had a company in the Mankato region and they wanted, you know, like local counsel, I don't know any attorneys in Mankato region. You know, and then like back in the day, I visited with Pioneer Bank and a couple other banks, but this was like 3-4 years ago. And, you know, a lot of those conversations have turned stale. So I'd love to kind of, you know, rekindle that or have new conversations. And then, of course, people just move on too. You know, the banker that we met at Pioneer might not even be there anymore. So yeah, right. we need to kind of get back and rekindle those conversations. So I'm always happy to have those conversations with people.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your presentation here, Patrick. Are you needing to head out to the Eden Prairie 1 Million Cups event right here at 9:30?
Nope. I told him I would not be there today.
Okay. Well, then I did want to follow up with one quick question here. You mentioned your focus is on Main Street businesses.
Yep.
How does that affect your focus and portfolio, that definition of Main Street?
Yeah, I guess we haven't done a lot to define it. I guess what I frame up as Main Street is companies that are, they're literally, their growth is more like this versus like this. It's more grinded out businesses like a food company or coffee company. I mean, even the technology companies that we've invested in, these aren't like overnight success stories. Like, they have to work hard about sales and marketing. And so, you know, we are purposely not investing in the next thing that's, you know, going to try to be $1 billion, let alone 100 million or even 50 million. We're investing in entrepreneurs who are like, hey, I'm at $1 million and I've got to hustle to get to 2 million and to 5 million. That's the journey we're interested in. So that's what we would call more Main Street. A lot of the Main Street businesses, you know, if you think about a pure Main Street business, like a single location for a coffee shop is probably our best, like a single location. Like, our money doesn't work if they're just interested in like that one location or 2 locations. But if they've got a couple locations and they want to grow to like 10 locations, now our money and community could work to help them. So there's got to be enough of a growth profile for our investment to work, but it doesn't have to be over the top. They don't have to promise to be the next Starbucks. And that's the problem with venture capital, is everybody in the ecosystem sets themselves up for failure. And that's actually, there's some really good, go off on tangent, there's some really good white papers that have recently come out talking about how venture capital actually may be as or more harmful than they are doing good, because they set companies up for failure. Because frankly, if they don't do this, they shut them down and blow them up. And I think that's just really sad. It doesn't need to be that day. Our communities are missing that ecosystem of nice 5, 10, 15 million revenue companies. Where are they? They don't hardly exist anymore. People are either a startup or they're like a big, massive company owned by a private equity firm. So we'd like to be part of the change on that.